What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, welcoming you back to Trackmania Turbo. Notice how I didn't say let's play Trackmania Turbo because this is not another episode. This is me saying I need to put a stop to this let's play for a while. Not permanently, but at least for a little while because I can't continue. No, I'm dead serious. I seriously cannot progress any longer. This game is hard. It is incredibly hard, and I have actually hit a point where I cannot progress so long as I am live commentating this game. In fact, I'm having a hard enough time trying to record this game first and then commentate it because I seriously cannot progress. I did say before I want to at least make it through the blue series and then the red series, but I don't think I can do that under the current circumstances. So I'm going to have to put this Let's Play on hold for a while. Because like I said, I can't progress. I can't put out content. I can't make it any further in this game. This game is better than me. I am not good enough to beat it at the moment. I don't think I can make that any more clear. That said, I still do at some point, campaign notwithstanding, want to go over a bunch of the community tracks and the track editor itself because I do think those are the high points of this game. All in all, I actually do think that the campaign is the weakest portion of Trackmania Turbo, and now I feel kind of bad for having emphasized it for so long. That's not to say it isn't fine, it isn't serviceable, but I really dislike the way that the campaign is structured. Let me explain. Trackmania Turbo, or Trackmania in general, has always been kind of a trial and error series. Now, the thing about most other Trackmania games is they have always maintained a level of consistency. Most Trackmania games, not all of them, but most of them, have stuck to the stadium format. What you see in the fourth world in Trackmania Turbo, that is essentially the entirety of most Trackmania games. I have played Trackmania Stadium and Trackmania Nations, and those games strictly stick to that type of terrain and that type of racing. Trackmania Turbo likes to throw a lot of curveballs at you that these other Trackmania games don't. Now, that's fine. Games are supposed to have a challenge. Racing games are supposed to throw curveballs at you. The problem is the level of consistency that is throughout this campaign, of which there is very little to almost none. Every single level, there is a completely different challenge, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, you do have to get used to the terrain, you have to get used to the car, and then you have to get used to each individual level. Totally fine. Then you have the multi-lap levels, which throw a completely different curveball at you every single time based on their sole design. Most of the tracks are a singular linear experience that usually require you to clear a set of specific obstacles. The multi-lap variants require you to clear those specific obstacles multiple times and therefore introduce a completely different challenge. There are also challenges that are not necessarily as big or grand, but are definitely much more moment-to-moment difficult than the normal tracks that you experience throughout the game. And as a result, every single one of the multi-lap tracks is actually a difficulty spike throughout the game. It's a much more difficult than the track before it, as well as the track that comes after it. Okay? Again, don't necessarily have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is the fact that after you have then completed 8 of these normal courses and then 2 of the multi-lap courses, you are then supposed to do the exact same thing over with a completely different terrain, completely different obstacles, a completely different handling car, and completely different physics that you have to get used to all over again. This curveball is then thrown at you 4 times in each difficulty series. All of this on its own merit is fine. These are new challenges that you have to get used to, and I'm not going to go out here and say that it's unfair in any way. What I am saying is that the curveballs are thrown so often and so frequently, I can't get a handle on it. I'm not a good enough player to beat this game very regularly and consistently, and therefore, like I said before, I can't progress. This is not a game that requires you to learn off of past experiences in the same way that a game like the Souls series does, like Bloodborne and Nioh do, like Sekiro Shadows Die Twice do, not like other racing games do, where your terrain and the things that you experience are actually very consistent. I'm looking at the Forza games, I'm looking at Gran Turismo, I'm looking at off-road racers, I'm looking at Mario Kart, for crying out loud. Those games at least have very specific rules, mostly in terms of their physics, that are maintained throughout the entirety of the game and never change. This game doesn't do that. It changes on you constantly, and like I said, that's fine. It's its own way of framing the difficulty. But it's too difficult for me. It's not unbeatable, but it's too difficult for me to make consistent progress and therefore have consistent uploads for you guys. And therefore, I have to can this series for the time being. I have to move on to something else, because if I continue with this Trackmania series, it's never going to go anywhere. And that's why you guys have been getting episodes so infrequently. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for enjoying this Trackmania Turbo Let's Play. It will be back at some point whenever I can actually get around to beating this darn game, or at least as much as I am willing to beat. And I will see you all in the next one.